for the celebration of literature, storytelling, and creative expression.
The Ziro Literary Festival, since its inception in 2018, has grown into a vibrant space for intercultural exchange and meaningful dialogue.
Bringing together award-winning writers, journalists, thinkers, and accomplished artists. The festival offers engaging discussions, readings.
It is truly a privilege to be part of this celebration today. I am Hibu Marci.
And I am Nada Kodo. And on behalf of the organizing team, we extend a heartfelt welcome to all the guests, speaker, participants, and audience members joining us here today for the 6th edition of Ziro Literature Festival 2026.
Please join me in welcoming Father.
From oral traditions around fireplace to contemporary art and film, storytelling continues to evolve and carry our cultural memory. But how does this shift occur, and what happens to the story we inherit? To engage further in this discourse, I would like to introduce you all to our speakers for the discussion. First, we have Mr. Moge Basar, who is a poet and author of 2 poetry collections, Margins Poems and Chrysanthemums and Other Poems. He has also written illustrated children's books and holds a PhD in English, currently teaching literature. We have Mr. Samudra Kajal Saikia, who is an interdisciplinary artist and researcher whose work spans across theaters, films, animations, and cultural criticism. His projects have received recognition, including grants from the Foundation for Indian Contemporary Art. And we have Dr. Tage Kano, who is a pediatrician with the government of Arunachal Pradesh and a writer from the Apatani community. He has worked on standardizing Apatani orthography and is the author of Voices from Ancestors, Apatani Folktales, and his poem collection, Under the Pine Tree. Moderating this session is Mr. Moji Riva, a filmmaker and cultural activist from Arunachal Pradesh, and founding head of the Department of Mass Communication at Rajiv Gandhi University. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
On those 2 illustrated children's books, specifically while we were working on the book on the Yapom, what made me take an interest in it was because there have been instances of, if we go to the documentation part of it, even though earlier on, if we talk to elders, the Yapoms have been talked about as ambivalent spirits, both as benevolent and also as malevolent spirits. But in our everyday lives, what has been passed down is just the one side of it. So what we were looking for was a sort of subversion of that, to look at things from the perspective of the supposed spirit, which was often genderless but often depicted as a woman or a female spirit. So our focus was on how do we make this text child-friendly, while at the same time, putting in that bit of a subversion to question why are we looking at things a particular way. So in the book, as you must have seen, the story is told from the perspective of the Yapom who has lost, their home, which was the forest. So that way we also tied in a little bit of ecological issues into the story. Since it's a children's book, we could not make it very overly political also, but these things, I think that way engagement has changed now, because I think the previous generations of writers are more interested in documentation, whereas as we see now, even say in filmmaking or photography, or literature in general, we're seeing this shift towards questioning tradition, reinventing tradition, but also retaining what is necessary, but not looking at culture as a fixed entity, because at the end of the day, it is never fixed. It is just one way of looking at things. It is a process of internalization and externalization. So how does literature address those fault lines? That is a perspective that I am interested in as a writer, I would say.
And what has been the response to the publications? I mean, what is the feedback that you have been getting on that?
The feedback has been mostly positive, because it was mostly targeted towards children. So the feedback from it has been interesting, because This was part of a project based in Shillong. So mostly they were distributing the books free of cost in Anganwadi centers. It's also available on Pratham's platform, Storyweaver, free of cost. So anyone can go out there, go on the website and download the e-copies of the book for free. So it is accessible to everybody that way, and it's CC by 4, so anyone can print it and distribute it. There is no copyright issue that way. So the response has been quite good. In fact, on the website, I checked the email. It has been translated into Arabic and some other a couple of other languages, since there is no copyright issue as such. So it has been translated and they've put it up there, and that way I think mostly a positive response, I would say.
We'll come back to the distribution networks towards the later part of the discussion.
Literary agents, they say that we don't take like short stories, and then I have sent my manuscript to one literary agent, the only one, and they didn't reply back to me. But I was always in this community of other writers, some of my friends, and we are always constantly writing, updating each other, and I was in that run, I have to get my book published, and we came across this pitching contest which was organized by the Penguin Random House, and we sent our manuscripts, and my manuscript was longlisted and shortlisted, and all the shortlisted writers were invited to Jaipur Lit Fest, and I was I have to win this one, because it's so difficult to break into the publishing, especially the mainstream publishing. So I discussed with some of my friends, took advice. I even attended one workshop on how to pitch your book to prepare for that pitch. And that was done by the Yoda Press. So I prepared slides. I I paid some illustrators in Arunachal to make illustrations for my book, just for that pitching. And when I reached there, some other finalists, they were just coming up on stage and saying this is this. But when I came, I was can you put that slide? So I was very well prepared, and I gave out printouts of my manuscripts to the judges who were commissioning editors of Penguin and other writers from India. So I won that pitching contest. And I think that winning that pitching contest was very important in my publishing journey, because there are some things that happens in your life that changes the trajectory of your career. And I think there, the commissioning editor of Penguin, Elizabeth Kuruvilla, she really liked my manuscript, the idea of my book, and she asked me to send my manuscript. And I had to wait 3 months to hear back from her, and those 2-3 months were extremely difficult. I could not enjoy my life. So after I got once she called me, and then she said that we would love to publish your work. So that was the whole journey. And then before that pitching contest also, I think one of the most important thing that happened in getting this book published was I had won a literary mentorship which was with South Asia Speaks, and I think that was the first point of getting. I was not published, but that was the thing that I think shaped me and shaped this book. And I was mentored by Aruni Kashyap to write this book, and I actually owe this book and my writing career to South Asia Speaks Fellowship. Really helped me.
I think though I knew how things are working, because I know sometimes how publishers work. They have a list. Right now, we are sitting in March 2026. I'm talking specifically about English language multinationals, because all of us are operating in the same manner. We are all reporting to either the UK or the US, and we are now presenting titles for mid 27. So our roster is full. So there's nothing we can do to change that, because everything has to be circulated, and so there are these occasional drop-ins that we try to push for, but that's not the norm. That's more the exception. So I know it sounds it's very cruel for a writer to be waiting indefinitely, Often, I'll just give you a ballpark figure. If you take the big six English language publishers who are operating in India right now, in total we publish close to 1,000 books a year. If you just narrow it down, it's 3 books a day almost. How do you justify that if you are coming out with 2 or 3 books every day? How do you even find the right audience for it? How do you grab eyeballs as a writer or as a publisher? Because you only have that much time to publish a book, then market a book, and by the time you have moved a little forward, there are 2 more books which you have to publish because it's in your schedule and you have to meet that. As a publisher, I'm talking about. So as a writer, when I was working with another publishing house, I knew that these are constraints that they may be facing as well. So that period becomes very painful, but it's important. But as she rightly said, and you also rightly pointed out, writing a book, especially fiction, the writing bit is only not even half the battle won. The actual work begins, in her case, before that, because what she did by presenting it the way you did, and I was there when you were doing it, it shows intent on the part of the writer, right? Because as publishers, we don't know the writer in person. We often can read a piece of work, and it's also very subjective. It's also
elements of your life will come through in any book that you write, any piece of fiction, or even non-fiction or creative non-fiction that you write. Did you ever fear that this will become this some pseudo-intellectual, self-importance type of a book? Was that ever a fear?
No, you're absolutely right. The first novel often, with the greatest of writers, becomes semi-autobiographical, and that was a trope that of course there are some similarities, there'll be some overlaps, which is unavoidable, but I was very conscious about that as well. So to put it lightly, my protagonist in this book is pretty much a loser in my books, and so I was very conscious of making him that, to separate it as far as possible from me. But I don't look at being, and when I say loser, I say it with a lot of empathy. Somebody who's just unable to cope, and that's a phase we often go through. We all have had those moments of doubt, those moments of introspection, those moments where we don't know where our life is headed, whether we are going to be able to make it to the next day. And I wanted to make that.
Speak about something, I just go and speak about it the way I want it.
In your videos, not you.
In my videos, see, I am also a little bit of okay, I'm here on Instagram, I will do what works. So I am there. But I will insert my culture here and there, which when a person watches it, they might not essentially feel it upfront, but the longer they stay, they will realize it slowly, that it is like a very specific kind of voice, and it does stem into tribal culture, or somebody who is from Assam, from a small town, like it is going to speak to that. That's why somebody from a small town Assam will relate to my video more than like somebody from like a urban child, like an urban teenager or like a young adult.
But you'd love for that urban teenager to
at least accept it, in the sense that accept it at least as a piece of entertainment and a piece of insight into a culture that is not their own. So it is me making it palatable, sort of. And maybe that is where that flattening bit of it comes, which is like I simplify it for them in many ways. Yeah.
And that will not hit too well with us because you've oversimplified it.
I know. And I mean, it is sad, but I don't think I do that
Why
much
is it
simplification. It's not sad in the sense that because there is so much complexities, right? Even when we say Assam is not just Assamese people. Assam is also Dimasa people, so many Kachari people. So there are so many complexities, nuances missing, so many like Deori, like so many different.
Boros.
So many, like I can't. We'll start listing them. Like there are gonna be so many more nuances to pop up, but overall in my content, I have to stick to that quote unquote larger mass Assamese like culture so that I speak to a broader audience. That's why a lot of people, I do face a lot of criticism from like people from my own communities telling me like, why didn't you cover this, which was very specific to a Dimasa culture. But like although it was always in my conscience and I know that certain thing is happening, but I'm usually so busy covering something else that gets left out for a bit, and then by the time I come back to it, it's already too late to do that anymore.
And this is real for most of us. I mean, all the northeastern states. You just have to replace the tribes with our tribes, you know, and the story is same across. There is a I don't call it a problem, but a challenge in meeting those algorithm needs. And Vinod, I come back. That's a lot of words. I said one word.
Yeah, sorry. What's that one word? Futuristic.
Vishal, one platform you can ignore. And don't say YouTube, because you have already ignored YouTube.
I've ignored X for forever. I've never been on X. Twitter.
You'll ignore Twitter.
I'm not on Twitter.
Radhika, one format you believe in.
Audio.
Okay, check. That was easy one. Samyukta, one thing you would remove from media.
I shouldn't say ads because they're
Very
important.
good. You can't prompt her.
I can't say ads. What would I remove? This is a tough one. Can I get a pass? Can I come back?
Okay, you can come
One
back.
thing I would remove from
Yeah.
media.
Me.
I think corporate culture, I would say, more independent, free-spirited. I think it's the culture of it. I think it goes beyond. I mean, you can have good ones too, probably, but it's the kind of it's the things that come with it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I keep saying this to all my friends. If all the people who read eastmojo.com paid even 10 rupees a month, we'd be thriving. We'd be able to do the kind of journalism that you've never seen here in the Northeast. On a parting note, thank you AI. Most of our social media pages have improved the English, especially in Northeast. Before, you know, the kind of English that we were exposed to, not that my English is that great also. So on that note, I finish this session. Thank you so much to my panelists for that insightful conversation, whatever we could manage in the last 50 minutes. And I'll quote our earlier poet who said, "Sabr ka phal meetha hi rahega." I like that. Meetha hi rahega. Let's hope हम सब के लिए सब्र का फल मीठा रहेगा और लंच में कुछ अच्छा हो. Thank you very much.